All right, everybody, welcome to the Outdoor Genetics Podcast. And for those of you that's never been here before, welcome, and we hope you all enjoy this content. We do have two different types of podcasts. We have the podcast where we share our stories and things that's happened to us and, just wanting to chit-chat, whether it be by myself or with a guest or another member of the team. That's really just kind of our original podcast. We just like to have a lot of fun on it. Not a whole lot of controversial topics. Unlike our other side of our podcast, our Let's Talk About It podcast, where we talk about controversial topics in the outdoor industry, whether it be through fishing, hunting, mountain climbing, or whatever, some of the things that we primarily do. We talk about those things, and we don't do it to stir the pot. We do it to share our side of what we believe, not trying to sway any opinions of any other outdoorsmen, as much as we like to talk about these things because there are people that want to get involved in the outdoor industry, and we believe it's right for them to see all sides of the spectrum. You have the elitists that believe it's their way or the highway. And then you have people that are different from us. Hey, some people believe it's okay to high fence hunt. Some people don't. Some people think it's okay to hunt over bait. Some people don't. Some people don't care what you do. And like I said, then you have the elitists that care about, if you're not doing it like me, then you're not the best. Okay, so what we want to do is just provide our side of what we believe and what we think. Like I said, not to sway the opinion of any other outdoorsman, but to educate the people that are trying to get involved in the outdoor industry. So, welcome to the Outdoor Genetics Podcast, and this is our Let's Talk About It podcast. And on today's topic, we are going to be talking about why hunting can be so controversial as a topic. And now this is a very broad spectrum. This is a huge playing field here. And so we're not going to have time to discuss every single bit of it on this podcast. This will probably be a 2 or 3 part series. And it's going to take some time. But real quick, Outdoor Genetics, we are sponsored by Chum Bums. Chum Bums is an outdoor adventure community where as outdoorsmen we can come together and have a good time sharing what we love. This is a membership platform. You're not going to have to worry about seeing like third-party advertisements. You're not going to have to worry about everything that comes with a lot of these free sites that they tend to veer away from the hunting and fishing world. No, I'm not going to say exclusively, but for me, generally speaking, the hunting and fishing world. A lot of times on these other free sites, they tend to kind of shut us down. They veer away from them. And I am just going to say TikTok, for instance. If you're happy about a shot that your kid made, you post it on TikTok, it's getting taken down. You post it on Facebook, it might not get taken down, but you better be ready to hear the army of negative Nancys out there commenting on it. And so that's one thing I love about Chum Bums is I don't have to worry about that at Chum Bums. It's great. I absolutely love it. Check them out. Chum Bums, that's ChumBumz. It's an awesome group of people with conservative American values. All right, guys. So hunting, why is it such a controversial topic? Well, at one point in time, going back into, eons ago, back before we could just go to the grocery store and buy our food, hunting was a necessity for survival, not just recreational things, but legitimately survival. And of course, that's kind of goes without saying, right? We all understand that. We all know that. Our great ancestors did this to survive every single day. And if they didn't, they would not make it. They would not survive. And today it is more frequently regarded as a recreational activity. And a lot of the things that come with that, there's safety concerns that people are worried about. When you start looking at attitudes toward Animals, they're changing. So you got groups, and I'm just going to throw out the obvious, like PETA. They're wanting to shut it down because they believe an animal life is worth as much as a human life, or in a lot of cases that I have seen here lately, they're worth more than a human life. And it's really sad, But nevertheless, I'm not going to try to get off on that tangent, even though it would be very easy to do that. So, but getting those two ideas out of the way, the idea that it dates back to our ancestry, and then the idea of, like I said, the views towards animals' lives are changing today. Let's get past those because those are kind of the two obvious ones. So let's talk about why it's more controversial. Now, there's a couple of different ways that we can go here. You see, we can go, it's controversial within the outdoor industry, and we can also go, it's controversial on the outside of the hunting industry. So for this first part, let's talk about some of the things that I believe are making this controversial on the inside of the outdoor industry, as this is the part that bothers me the most, because I believe there's a lack of respect from outdoorsman to outdoorsman, and a lot of this does stem from the elitists or the anti-hunter hunters, the ones that say, you're not doing it like me, therefore you're not as good as me. Those people. And then what's sad is people like myself, or other people, not necessarily myself, but just other people in general, have to retaliate. And it's like, why do you have to retaliate? Why do you have to stoop down to such a grade school level and make yourself look like a fool, just like they're doing? And I see it on both ends of the spectrum. There is a part of me that says, hey, the way I hunt is superior because I've put in this much time, energy, money, effort, blood, sweat, and tears. And if you ain't doing that, then you're not as good as me, right? I can get that. There's a part of me that kind of feels that way when I have a friend that goes out and shoots a deer on the second day of season, and he hasn't put any time, effort, or energy, or money, or blood, sweat, and tears in scouting or anything. Yeah, there's a part of me that feels that way. But there's a bigger part of me that's like, dude, you just shot that deer? That's awesome. And so this is kind of where we're going to be talking about this today. It is controversial within the outdoor industry. Now, I believe that you can get into any industry. It doesn't matter if it's marketing, the outdoor industry, if you're inside the PETA world, or in any of those worlds over there. I believe that there's controversy on the inside of any and every market, any and every industry, any and every business. Even I work a 12-hour shift job. Even in my job, there's controversy within my job. I believe it's everywhere you go. But I believe controversy doesn't necessarily give you weak spots as much as it can give you strong points. Now, granted, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And I'm going to tell you what, that saying right there took me a long time to understand. Growing up, I grew up in a very tight-knit family with some tight-knit friends. And I'm telling you what, we all had each other's back, metaphorically and literally speaking. Growing up with strong morals, it was just who we were. You know what I mean? And so that saying, you're only as strong as your weakest link, well, I've heard it my entire life. But I never felt like any of my family or my friends, especially growing up, were a weak link. We were all equally strong. And where I may have lacked in one area, my sister was strong in that area, and vice versa, right? So it really worked out. We were a very strong chain and still remain a strong chain. But in the outdoor industry, the weak spots is where the chain breaks. And these weak spots are going to be in the pettiness of not only the elitists, if you will, but the the blue collars, I guess if you want to call them that, I'm a blue collar worker. I consider myself a blue collar. I'm not saying the elitists aren't blue collar. I'm just saying, generally speaking, there's a lot of things that aren't just handed to me, and it's because I'm blue collar. I had to work for them. My mama and daddy didn't buy me the best camo. They didn't buy me the best gun. My mommy and daddy didn't buy my truck. You know what I mean? And so when I moved out, I moved out at a young age so that I could start my life and do what I want to do. And I've had to work my butt off for everything I have now. And I'm not saying some of these elitists don't, but I personally know. I know I have their phone number in my phone and talk to these people. I love them. I care about them, and I do not wish any ill towards them. But I have called them out just as much as I've called out some of these others on this elitist act that they put on. And this elitist act is a weak spot in the outdoor industry. And let me explain why. Okay, so I'm Big Bad John, right? And you just posted a picture. Let's see. We just ended turkey season here in Oklahoma, so we're going to talk about that. You post a picture of you shooting a Jake, right? Little 3-inch beard. Its tail fan looks like a preteen's face, jagged teeth. Some teeth are bigger than the others because not all the adult teeth are in or whatever, and you get all that, right? And it's a small-bodied bird. Spurs are just nubs for spurs. And I get on there, and I want to tell you, you shot a Jake, you should have let him grow. What in the world would you shoot a Jake for? That's not exciting. That's terrible. You're not an outdoorsman. You're not a real hunter. You're not like me. Let me guess. You probably shot him with decoys. You were probably sitting in a blind, and let me guess, you used a shotgun. And if you're not shooting this shotgun with this choke, with this load, come on. You're not wearing Sitka gear? Oh my gosh. How pathetic. Now, you can look at that and say, I don't really care. I don't really care what you think, John, because what you think doesn't matter to me because I was excited in that moment. So although I'm still the weak link here, you oftentimes, and I'm not calling you out specifically, but there are a lot of people like us that feel the necessity to retaliate. And I just recently have seen this. And it's really aggravating. Very aggravating. But when you have to retaliate, that means there's a fight, right? You're fighting. And in a fight, there has to be a winner and there has to be a loser. Now, how do you dictate a winner and a loser? Well, it's the one that, nowadays, who comments most on that post and agrees with them? Who shuts down the other person from being so mouthy? Who can be more mouthy, more cussy, more buttheadish? I'm trying to keep this PG because we are a family-friendly show. But who can be the bigger, badder, dumb idiot? That's what it boils down to. I don't agree with the elitist. I don't agree. Gosh dang, if you were one of those guys, shame on you for allowing yourself to be a freaking bully. I'm sorry your parents did not have enough class. Yeah, I'm calling you out. I'm being that guy. I'm sorry your parents did not have enough class to teach you better or to whoop the fire out of you for being that way when you were younger. But you don't have to be that way. Yeah, I went there. So what? I'm doing what you do, right? I don't agree with those. But now, let me tell you something else. You dummies that think you have to retaliate. You dummies that think you have to come back and with the wittiest remarks, or you have to threaten them. I'm going to kick your butt. You just tell me when and where, and you are just as bad as the keyboard warriors that are wanting to start this crap with you in the first place. Come on. Everybody needs to grow up. Y'all two, whoever's doing it, y'all are the weakest link in the outdoor industry. And the problem is there's so many of y'all, we can't get rid of y'all. We don't want y'all to leave because we want people to stay in this amazing industry that we all know and love. But the problem gets to be that y'all just have to have this, excuse my French, pissing match, and you're right because you believe what you believe and it's the only way to do it, and I believe what I believe and it's the only way to do it, and I'm right, therefore you can't be right. And in a fight there has to be a winner and there has to be a loser. And you know what that provides? That provides a chance. That provides even if it's just a little chance, and I don't care whether you agree or not, but the truth is it provides just a big enough chance for that chain to break. And at that point, we're no longer one chain. We're two units where something, somebody, some other industry trying to shut us down can come in and do just that. You're doing nothing but giving them more ammunition. You want to talk about how great you are because you shot the biggest and best buck this year, or because you didn't shoot the deer over bait. Oh, you were saddle hunting instead of on the ground, right? Oh, you were in a ground blind rather than setting 500 yards away with a rifle and you shot him with a bow. I don't care what the argument is. Y'all are the problem. And I'm not just saying y'all as the elitist. I'm saying y'all as in everybody that feels like they have to get into this argument, this fight together within this industry. Why do you want to shut down such an amazing thing? Do you know what hunting really is nowadays? Because let me tell you, it's changed from what it was to what it is now. And I know I'm kind of getting into like a preaching mode, and I'm sorry, but I really feel strongly about this. And I want to share with what I love. I want to share what I love with a lot of people, but sometimes it gets so hard because hunting now has changed 110%. It's changed from what it was to what it is now. And now let me explain this. Like I said earlier, back in the day, it was a way of survival. It was a means of staying alive, putting food on your family's plate because you had to. The truth is, nowadays, it is recreational. Now, with that being said, there are some of us, and notice I said us because I fall under this category, that we do rely. We rely on hunting and fishing for the majority of our food every year. Now, yeah, John, you know what? You still have to buy ammunition. You could have spent that money on the ammunition to buy food. John, you bought a new bow last year. Instead of spending all that money on that new bow, and arrows and broadheads and case and string and everything else, you could have spent that money on food. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I could have bought me probably a good solid couple months worth of food. Whereas right now, you go look at my freezer. I'm set up for 2 years right now in my freezer. When we hunt and when we fish, don't get me wrong, I love shooting the trophies, and I have a lot of trophies hanging up in my living room right now that God has blessed me with the opportunity to be able to harvest. I don't care whether you believe in God or not. If you believe in a higher power, I don't care. I'm not asking for you to. I'm not trying to sway any of your beliefs like that. But what I'm saying, for what I believe, God has given me the opportunity to take some of these animals, not only as trophies, but yes, as supplements for my table that I can feed to not only my wife, because we don't have kids, my wife, before my mother passed away, my mother, every year, every time we would go deer hunting and we would shoot a deer, I would call her, Mom, do you want some of this backstrap? Do you want some roast? What do you want off this deer? And I would put food on their table. They supplied food for me for 17 years of my life. Why should I not repay the favor? For my friends, you know what? I've got other family members. I've got family, guys, that's gone without food so that their kids can have food. And I was fortunate enough to have an additional 60, 70 pounds of hamburger meat, steaks, roasts, and chops, just fish, everything that I can say, you know what? We're doing okay. Let me give you some of this. So, yeah, hunting has changed. It really has, because it has turned in more of a recreational thing, but there is still the side that we thrive on this. My grocery bill is a lot cheaper than the majority of people because we don't have to buy our meat. It's fantastic. And especially during this time of year where we're turning into springtime. Well, it is springtime, almost summertime it feels like. But, you know, we looking at gardening and everything else like that. Sorry about that. I hit my mic stand. We start looking at gardening and everything like that. A lot of what we eat is from what we kill, catch, and grow, guys. But yes, it is recreational. For me, it does. Even though it's different, it has turned more recreational rather than survival. It is still a means for me to keep my sanity and keep my history. Okay, I'm flipping a coin here in hopes that this is a bing, a light bulb moment, right, for somebody. We cry that we want to either keep or erase history, but we want to keep, and we want to pick and choose what we want to keep, right? And there's certain groups of people that want to pick and choose what parts of history that we do and don't keep. All right, now here we go. I don't want to keep this part of my history. I have to keep this part of my history. It keeps me sane. It keeps me intact. It keeps me in check. Because there's nothing more, whether you elitist hunters agree or not. For you blue-collar workers, just like in your job, there's things in your job that can humiliate you, bring you down, humble you. For me, I work with two big plants, I should say, that on the regular explode, shooting liquid hot magma, basically, all over the place, and has great potential to kill somebody. You get complacent. If I get complacent at my job, that's when I get hurt. And it's the same thing with hunting and fishing. There's nothing more humiliating than when you've been watching this deer for the last 2 years, and this coming up to this next season, you've been watching him all summer long, and then opening day of bow season gets here, and you go out there and he stops showing up. There's nothing more humiliating than being defeated by an animal. But the feeling of success, when it does happen, you see, I've put in the money, the time, the energy, the blood, sweat, and tears in one way or another. Whether I'm hunting over a food plot or not, whether I'm hunting over corn or not, whether I've paid a high fence rancher to let me come hunt out there on his 700-acre ranch. In some form or fashion, I've put in my time, my blood, my energy, my sweat, and my tears to harvest an animal. Now, if we could all learn, and how, gosh, it's so cliche to say, and I hate saying cliche things, but if we could all learn to get along. Elitists, I want to let you know something right now. Hope you're listening. You're not as big and bad as you think you are. Let me promise you that. Okay? There's somebody out there 10 times the hunter, 100 times the hunter, the fisher, the mountain climber than you will ever be. And I'm not saying that to stroke the egos of us non-elitists, right? I'm not trying to stroke our egos, because I'm about to bring us down too, guys. Okay, but there's somebody out there that is 10 times better than you. And here's the kicker. They ain't looking for the title. That's what's funny about it, is you're out here trying to put everybody down to make yourself look good because your parents didn't have enough class in themselves to whoop your butt and tell you, no, if you want it, you go out and earn it. You don't try to steal it from somebody by making them look bad. Like, and I don't mean to sound like a bully, but it's the truth. Now, with that, guys, us guys that are going out and doing our due diligence to do whatever we can, you know what? We're paying so much money to be able to hunt on a small parcel of land every year. I'm very fortunate with what I have, being able to hunt. I've got a really large span of land that I get to hunt all across Oklahoma every year, and being invited from state to state to state. You know what? This is great, and I'm very fortunate, and I'm very lucky. But not everybody has that. I have been the guy where I only had 30 acres to hunt on. I have been the guy at one point in time where there was literally only a 5-acre parcel of land that I could hunt on. Okay? With that, When these elitists come at you, or when anybody, I don't care if they're elitist or not, when somebody comes at you and tries to put you down, you retaliating, you look so dumb. You look so foolish, so childish. You don't have to speak up. It's better to be thoughtful than to speak up and remove all doubt. Okay? If you've only been deer hunting for a year, don't claim to be the biggest and baddest one of them all. If you've only been deer hunting for 5 years, you can't claim to know everything. You might be really good at hunting that small parcel of land that you're on. But let me tell you from experience here, let me tell you a little bit of a story as we're coming to a close on this first part. I grew up hunting anywhere and everywhere that I could. Sometimes I got to hunt, sometimes I didn't. Most of the time I relied on the older men in my community to take me under their wing and take me hunting. As Dad was oftentimes working one of his many jobs, Dad didn't necessarily have time to take me hunting and fishing every time I wanted to go. Although we did go, I relied more on usually friends and the other men in the community, the other families, to allow me to go with them, to teach me, to take me under their wings and allow me the opportunities, the same opportunities that they have, whether that was on 5 acres, 10 acres, 20, 40, 100,000 acres, it didn't matter. I had to learn from these people. And as I got older, I acquired some property that I was allowed to hunt on in exchange for work. When I first started hunting out there, it was around 1,200 acres. And then the ranch ended up putting up a high fence in the dead center, splitting 2 of the properties. Of course, we didn't hunt inside the high fence unless it was like for pigs and coyotes getting in, bobcats and things. But it was like more like a split, I believe, like 800 acres. And, basically 500 acres on one side, 300 acres on the other. And I had to learn to hunt those split properties, and I got good at hunting those split properties. I knew where the deer were going to be. I knew where they were crossing. I knew why they were crossing. I knew everything. I knew their every step. If they were going to take off running and I was doing a spot and stalk, I knew where to go, where I could cut them off. I knew the property like the back of my hand. And I guarantee you, anybody out there wanted to try to question me? You wanted to try to question me about what I was doing? Come out there and show me how I could do it better, and I will show you wrong. I was that guy. Because I got complacent. Even though I was still a blue-collar worker, I was still one of these guys down here on the bottom that still loved to see. It didn't matter what you shot. I didn't care if it was a buck, a doe, a spike, or if it was a jake, or whatever it was. If you were happy, I was still happy for you. But there wasn't people better than me on that parcel of land. Nobody could come off that. Nobody could come onto that land and tell me how to do it better. Because I knew it. I may have been good at that, but let me tell you what, when I lost that property after, I don't know how many years, a long time of hunting that property, after I lost that property, I acquired some new property, and it's the property that we hunt on now. We have around 50,000 acres that we hunt across the state of Oklahoma. And let me tell you what, I am not as good as a hunter as I thought I was. What this has done is that it has allowed me to broaden my spectrum and allowed me to push what I know and to really put it to the test. And I think oftentimes as outdoorsmen, that's what we forget to do. We forget to put ourselves to the test. Does that mean picking up a new way of hunting? Sometimes, yeah. Does that mean leaving the decoys at home? Sometimes, yeah. Or, elitist, sometimes does that mean shutting your mouth and realizing that there is somebody actually out there better than you? Sometimes, yeah. You see, this is a big controversial thing within the hunting industry. And this is only one of the many topics. And we're talking about the elitists here. The elitist, and then us others, us lowers, lessers, whatever you want to call us, that think we have to retaliate. Okay. You want to be nice to the elitist, because here's the truth of the matter. The elitists are not going to be nice to you. That's not what they're put on this earth to do. Their parents did not raise them to be better than that. And it's obvious, and it shows, and whatever. I'm going to probably catch a lot of flack for this, but that's okay. I really don't mind, and I'm not going to retaliate in such a negative third grade school kind of way. It's not worth my time. Y'all aren't worth my time. Just like, if y'all are so good, us lessers wouldn't be worth y'all's time. Right? But I'm telling you, elitist, back off. Because quite frankly, if you can't be excited for Joe Schmo that shoots a spike, and he filled his tag, he put whether he wants to get it mounted or not, whether you would mount it or not, it's not your trophy. You know what? I wish, and I do this with my friends that are more of the elitists. I do this with them. I pick on them about what they shoot. You know, I really do. And now granted, it is in good, clean fun, but it's also to prove a point. But I'm also not being a complete rear end. I am friends with these people. And I do that to them. And you know what? I'm not saying it's working and that I'm trying to sway their opinion. I want them to continue hunting. I want them to continue to push themselves, to strive to be even better than what they are today. But that doesn't include putting somebody down to make them look good, to make them look superior. That's so pathetic. And I don't even think half the time they realize it. Look, if you have an argument with somebody online, back off. If you have an argument with somebody on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, I don't care where you're at, block the person. Here's the thing. Don't message me telling me, tell your buddy to unblock me. Why do you want to drag me into it? Why do you want to make me look like the bad guy to one of y'all? Neither one of y'all have done anything to me specifically to make me mad at you or to want to possibly ruin what could potentially be a great lifelong friendship. Why would you want to put me in that situation? You pathetic rear end. Stop being so selfish. And that includes us lessers. Stop being so selfish and thinking that you got to step up and start threatening people and doing all this other stuff online, because the truth of the matter is nobody wants to see each other face to face. Because here's the truth of the matter is, none of y'all know me well enough to think that you can actually whoop my butt and get away with it. That's the truth of the matter. You don't know me. I'm liable to show up and you really get hurt. Then again, I'm liable to be that big-headed guy that thinks I'm invincible and you show up and I get hurt. Nobody wants to be put in that situation. Stop asking people to be in that situation. Social media will be, guys, quote me on this, unless we come together and change it, social media will be the downfall of the outdoor industry, and it will no longer be here. And I do believe this will be toward the end of my lifetime, if not maybe a little sooner. It will happen if you can't change the way you act. Guys, what do you think? Am I wrong? Am I right? Let me know down in the comments below. And let me tell you what, with that, as long as you're willing to keep it family friendly and not turn into an argument, if you're willing to legitimately have a good, clean discussion over this topic, as one of the viewers, I would love to welcome you onto the show so that we can talk about this. I try to keep these relatively short, 30 to 45 minutes, but sometimes they may go a little longer. But guys, with that, please note, we do try to keep this as family friendly and as family oriented as possible. So if you'd like to be if you'd like to be a guest on our show, even as one of our normal average watchers, or somebody that you've never even heard of this show until you watched this episode, I don't care. If you'd like to be on the show, let me know. Contact me directly and we'll see what we can do about getting you put on. We'd love to hear your feedback. Guys, make sure to hit that bell notification, hit that subscribe button so that you'll be notified whenever we upload our next podcast, or any of our next content for that matter. Guys, until next time, stay safe, stay positive, come together, stop hating on each other, and we'll be seeing y'all soon.